Hello, I'm Don Mitchell. Welcome back to Your Breakthroughs. Today we'll be talking about Lesson 8, which is entitled The Nonprofit Sequence for Putting Together Complementary 2000% Solutions. Let me begin by quoting from the Bible, rather a lengthy story, but one I think will be familiar, will bring a smile to your face. This is from Mark chapter 6, verses 34 through 44 in the New King James Version. And Jesus, when he came out, saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion for them, because they were like sheep not having a shepherd. So he began to teach them many things. When the day was now far spent, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and already the hour is late. Send them away, that they may go into the surrounding country and villages and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat." But he answered them and said to them, "You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give them something to eat?" But he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they found out, they said, "5 and 2 fish." Then he commanded them to make them all sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat in ranks, in hundreds and in fifties. And when he had taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven, blessed and broke the loaves, and gave them to his disciples to set before them. And the 2 fish he divided among them all. So they all ate and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of fragments and of the fish. Now those who had eaten the loaves were about 5,000 men. Helping nonprofit organizations become much more fruitful for God's kingdom is a personal interest of mine. I think it's the best way to accomplish many important tasks. While some people urged me to make the 400 project a profit-making activity, I felt called to operate as if it were legally a nonprofit. I didn't actually create such a legal structure because doing so would have taken time, effort, and funds that were much better spent in other ways. Also, I did not intend to seek funding from others. Though the project does charge for some of its materials, these funds are used to pay for providing free materials to those who are likely to make good use of them and cannot afford to purchase. The project has been blessed by many students and volunteers who generously shared their time, talents, and treasure to establish demonstration projects and report their findings so that others could apply them. In doing so, I'm sure that many of the students and volunteers were inspired by Jesus' example in miraculous feeding 5,000 men and uncounted women and children as well, as described in Mark chapter 6 and many other Bible books. Jesus appreciated as valuable as good teaching is. He was also needing to impress others by deeds that would help them understand who he is and learn what can be accomplished by drawing on him the resources of his kingdom. Consider that Jesus did more than just feed thousands. He also created more leftovers in the original volume of food that he multiplied. In essence, he created an infinite percent solution by satisfying all the needs and having a remainder that exceeded his initial resources. While we cannot hope to use natural means to match his amazing accomplishment, we should always remember that God can decide to multiply the effectiveness of our efforts with his supernatural provision when we're serving his will. Through the 400-year project, God has provided natural means for producing what will clearly be seen as miraculous results by many. When I meet leaders of nonprofit organizations, such leaders invariably describe several major projects they would like to accomplish. Somewhere during that conversation, she or he will mention a lack of financial resources and begin to talk about attracting many more donations. Unfortunately, getting donations isn't usually the best first focus for a nonprofit organization seeking to become vastly more fruitful for God's kingdom. If you're such a leader or work with one, you'll probably find some of what I have to say about the most productive nonprofit sequence for making complementary 2000% solutions hard to understand. Please be patient as I do my best to describe the potential benefits of taking a different approach than perhaps you have in the past. If you still have questions or don't agree with what I have to say, I hope you will contact me at donmitchell@fastforward400.com so I can add more information and explanations for you. The world is filled with nonprofit organizations pursuing noble purposes, many of which are directly related to expanding God's kingdom. I recently reminded this fact while reading a travel book about Africa. Almost everyone the author met in hotels and restaurants during quite a long journey was connected to some nonprofit organization or another that was seeking to alleviate the many problems that can be found in Africa. Because there were so many nonprofits, most of them have to compete fiercely for donations. Givers often feel inundated with the many different ways they can encourage or aid a given accomplishment. After comparing different nonprofits from the point of view of their effectiveness and efficiency, how many people are helped by how much for whatever amounts have been spent? Only a few nonprofit organizations stand out. The others will look woefully inadequate to anyone who does such a careful examination. To escape the consequences of looking bad in such comparisons, some nonprofits primarily rely on attracting board members who will make large donations and use obligations developed in their personal relationships to influence others to give. A wealthy individual on the board might be donating to many causes after being solicited by friends. Such a board member might then ask his friends to reciprocate. In addition, a supplier's sense of appreciation for the purchases that an employee's business makes might lead to the supplier making a gift to that employee's favorite nonprofit organization. Why will people ask for gifts in such cases? Sometimes the donation solicitors aren't paying any attention to efficiency and effectiveness. In some other cases, the prestige gained from being recognized for raising a great deal of money can be appealing. Instead of focusing first on obtaining more funding, I believe that most nonprofits would do better to initially locate ways to reduce the cost of supplying and using benefits by 96%. Think back to Jesus' example in Mark 6. If he had directed the disciples to buy the bread instead, the solution would have pleased everyone. However, no one would have felt that he or she had to stay connected to Jesus unless he was going to provide food after every sermon. Such a solution wouldn't have done as much to advance the kingdom, just fill more places on the grass whenever he spoke. When I make this observation, nonprofit leaders, in most cases, the reaction is negative. Well, few such leaders bother to explain their reactions. My guess is they usually either feel they cannot operate any less expensively or they don't know how to lessen the cost. What they may not appreciate in either case is the substantial information available from the 400-year project for reducing organizational beneficiary costs by 96%. However, some will have to be committed enough to learn and apply this information. I have more to say on how to cut costs so dramatically in Lesson 13. For now, just consider by how much total cost would decline if all the paid staff were replaced by unpaid volunteers. For many nonprofits, that shift would be sufficient to accomplish such a goal. Nonprofit leaders' next priority should be to increase benefit effectiveness. I see such an improvement coming from either making benefits more useful to those who need them or by adding complementary benefits. Lesson 15 contains more information about how to do so. Few organizations measure the effectiveness of benefits they provide and accomplish some valuable purpose. Making such measurements often opens the eyes to the advantages of providing current benefits differently as well as providing different benefits. At this point, an organization will certainly be very appealing to potential donors. However, the need for most of such donations will have disappeared due to the increased efficiency and effectiveness in supplying benefits. Nevertheless, such a nonprofit will probably still need more volunteers. In this regard, more efficiency and effectiveness help by making volunteers feel they're making a bigger difference to their efforts. It's also quite valuable to make volunteer work more desirable and motivating. Too many organizations treat volunteers as if they have no feelings about what they're asked to do and the conditions in which they're expected to do so. Instead, volunteer positions should be designed to be attractive to volunteers in terms of being interesting, providing opportunities to learn, meeting memorable people, and enhancing self-image. In addition, volunteers should be given an increased sense of what their work accomplishes by spending time with those who will need assistance but aren't yet gaining it, those who are receiving help in improving their circumstances, those who have already graduated from needing assistance. Hopefully, many people in the last category will also be serving as volunteers, helping to make the experience more inspiring and relevant by sharing their stories. Please remember that Advanced Business for Social Benefits is a good resource for how to attract more volunteers and enable them to be much more effective. Next, I suggest that the organization focus on ways to reduce 96% of the investments that are used to provide benefits. Doing so will eliminate the last major need for increased funds. Lesson 14 provides more information on how to make such reductions. After that, nonprofits should add ways to make beneficiaries more productive in other aspects of their lives. Beneficiaries in nonprofits are normally operating at a tiny level of their full potential due to some difficulties in what they lack. After the first kind of benefits is provided, most such people will then have greater capacity to use their potential. Unfortunately, many nonprofits are so narrowly focused that they fail to add new benefits from making the increased capability of their beneficiaries even more productive. Lessons 18 and 19 provide more information on this subject. Obviously, there can and should be exceptions to the order of complementary 2,000% solutions that I proposed in this lesson. For instance, one organization might be so much more hamstrung by high investment needs than by operating costs that the organization should reduce the investment needs first. To determine if you should engage in creating these solutions in a different order, I suggest you begin by imagining you've expanded your provisions of benefits by 20 times. Then spell out how much more you would need in terms of staff, volunteers, operating funds, investments, and other resources and skills to do so. Whatever aspects are hardest to increase are the ones where you should first increase efficiency and effectiveness. So where does that leave an organization that's followed this route? The initial cost reduction meant that 20 times more benefits could be provided with existing resources. Proving benefit effectiveness means that beneficiaries don't need to receive benefits for as long, so many more people can be served with the same number of benefits over time. Adding a great number of volunteers who need few resources will mean that still more benefits can be provided and more people helped. Reducing investment needs will eliminate the last financial barrier to doing so. Making beneficiaries more effective will also reduce benefit needs and allow many more people to be saved and served. Overall, a nonprofit may be doing thousands of times more good. How could such an organization hope to attract enough donations to come anywhere near to matching such an increase, expanding God's kingdom by using current methods? Let me share a personal perspective. My experience has shown there are enough resources already being applied to supply most benefits to meet all the world's needs. However, the resources are being used so inefficiently and so ineffectively, only a tiny fraction of the most important needs are being served. Taking the approach that I've described can help to quickly narrow any such gaps. I look forward to hearing from your successes and any evidence to support my observation. Here are your Lesson 8 assignments. First, how could your nonprofit organization increase the benefits it provides by 20 times without adding more financial resources? Second, to do so, what role should cost reductions play? Third, what role should increasing benefit effectiveness play? Fourth, how should the number of volunteers be most effectively increased? Fifth, what should be done to reduce the need for investments? And sixth, what other benefits should be provided to those who use the current ones most effectively? So I hope this lesson has been a blessing to you. It's been great fun for me to get to share it with you, and I look forward to doing with future lessons from your breakthroughs. A book that can change your lives as well as change the world as you stand in God's hands and do His will. In the meantime, may God bless you, your family, and all you do in the name of Jesus. Goodbye for now, and take care.